Stereotyping. To have a set idea about what a particular type of person is like, especially an idea that is wrong. Welcome back to my channel, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Rojan and I talk about my life experiences and how I normally deal with them. Let me tell you, this is my 300th attempt to deal with this situation and actually film this video because the lighting changes so much and there's people outside protesting for something in front of the BBC building. Right, let's get on with the video. Today I'm going to be talking about something that honestly has changed my life so much over the past 2 or so years, and it is the art of stereotyping. I'm going to be talking about how I was put into certain categories and how that made me feel and how that changed me as a person. I think that although we get stereotyped and that's not okay, we also stereotype people and we also put others into categories. As a society we do this and that is not okay. Let this video be a reminder to you that you should take a look at yourself as well and see maybe you're doing this, maybe you're hurting someone along the way. And if not, then I'm sorry, that is my mistake. I used to do that. I was also stereotyped and it was not okay and I felt really bad. And so I'm just talking about myself and I'm saying that, hey, although people did this to me, I also did this to other people. And I needed to take a look at myself and think, wow, I'm doing the same exact thing to the other people that they're doing to me, and it took some time for me to learn to not do that. I'm gonna list some of the main categories that I was put into and that people wanted me to act a certain way just because of me being in that category. Number 1, women and clothing. Growing up, I was always taught to dress a certain way, and that meant that if I crossed that boundary line, then that meant that I would be called names. And I was taught that that was okay. That if someone called me names because of the way I dress and because of the way I chose to express myself, then that is my fault. And it's not the other person's fault that they're judging me. That is an issue. Like, I can just talk about the place that I lived and the location, the situation that I was in. But we are still teaching young men and young women that it is okay to judge people based on what they wear and how they express themselves. And I obviously grew up in the same situation, and so I was taught that it's okay to judge others based on what they wear. And I thought to myself, you know what, if I'm judging you, then it's your mistake. You should not have worn that. It took me some time to realize that you should never judge anyone based on what they want to wear. We should all learn to accept people for who they are, and no matter what they wear or how they want to express themselves, we should be okay with them. We should see them as personalities and we should love them either way. At some point I realized that I'm not making my decisions anymore. Everyone else is. Everyone else is telling me what to wear, how to wear it, and I have no say in this. Still to this day, people judge me for what I wear, and I honestly don't find that okay, and I feel like that hurts a lot of people. And if you're in a position that you're judging someone because of what they wear, then you should take a look at yourself. You should learn to accept them for who they are and as a whole, and people are different. Deal with it and move on. Point number 2, age. Now, I believe that this is an ongoing problem. We still expect people to act a certain way just because they're in a certain category of age. Now, that can be either good or bad. Hear me out. A lot of the times, especially now, I feel like young people get pressured into acting a certain way because of social media, because they think that that is the reality of what we live in, and they think that you should look like that. And so there they are, being 13 years old and thinking that that is how they should look. Often they do actually do that, and they act that way and they speak that way. To those people, I say one thing: you are going to be 20, you are going to be 25, but you're never going to be 13 again. That is not the reality of what we should look like. That is not how it is. That is just a couple of models with great lighting, great cameras, a lot of Photoshop. That is their job, and that is not how you should look on a daily basis. The way that some people speak on social media, that is not the way that you should speak. You should just be you. If that requires you to not have a winged eyeliner every single day, then that is completely fine. There is nothing better than a person expressing who they are truly and just being themselves. And so I think to those people that they need some guidelines, and so I'm not saying stereotype them, maybe just give them some guidelines of how it is okay and appropriate for someone their age to act, and don't pressure them to be someone who they're not. But then again, embrace who they are and just talk to them. And for the bad part is when you are actually being you and people think that just because you're in a certain age then you're like pretending. So I grew up really fast, and that was because of the amount of things that I went through. It required me to grow up quite quickly. I had to grow up to get past my issues and move on. That meant that I had to deal with some issues a bit earlier than most people do. When I actually did reach out and when I actually talked to someone and be like, hey, I actually have this problem and I would like you to help me if that's possible, they were like, it's not even time for you to think about that problem. It's just a phase that you think you're going through this problem, but you're not. And that is literally what they told me. Don't just expect people to go through some things at a certain age. That is just not the reality. So if someone does reach out to you, don't just pass it on and say, oh, hey, it's just too young for you to think about this problem. Or, hey, like, that's just not real and you're pretending. They might actually be going through that problem and they might have reached out to you and you might have just not helped them. Point number 3, hobbies. Now, I was never an 18-year-old that would be super excited to getting their driver's license or super excited to be an illegal age so that they could go to the club or like start drinking. And that didn't necessarily mean that I didn't have friends to party with or that I like have anything against the people who drink. It's just not me. To me, an evening of having a cup of coffee and just working on my craft, going out and taking some photographs and just being me was way more exciting than going out to a club or partying. A lot of the times people thought that just because I didn't do that, that meant that I was depressed or that meant that I didn't have friends. To me, that's just as funny. Like, some people want to spend their time different than a lot of people do. You shouldn't just assume that just because a lot of people do something, then that meant that whole of us needs to do that. That's just insane. I once had one of my relatives, really close relatives, came up to me and they were like, I know that you like art and you think that you can draw, but that's only because you haven't tried anything else. You think it's safe to stay in that age where you were 5 or 6 years old and you would draw. I think you should move on and you should experience different things. Are you actually serious? So I guess what I'm trying to say is that people have different hobbies. One might like to do arts like me, one might like to go out, one might like to do some other things, and that is totally fine. And you shouldn't just subject people as a whole to have the same hobby. That is just insane. We're like around 7.28 billion people. It is completely irrelevant for you to think that all of us are the same. Last but not least, point number 4, size. Now, I could go on and on about this. Now, I could go on and on about this situation and I could just make like a whole video about it. Now, this is an issue that to this day, I deal with it on a daily basis. People expect you to be a certain size. There's nothing new about that. Social media, people outside, your friends and your family, they probably want you to look a certain way, and let's face it, not all of us do. But when people stand in front of your face and tell you, for example, that you're not what they want you to be and that you're failing them and that you look bad or like you're ugly and that, wow, Rojan, do you remember when you looked so good in the summer? Or like, when they tell you that on a regular basis, you start to question yourself and you start to think, wow, am I really not good enough for these people? Is my size a problem? If you are one of those people who sometimes think that because of your size, maybe you're not beautiful enough, or that maybe there's something wrong with you, I've got one thing to tell you. That is not the truth. Know that however you look, you're beautiful. And just because a lot of people look a certain way in the society on social media doesn't mean that you have to look the same way. You're unique in being you, and that is completely fine. I know that you think that it's easy for me to say that, but trust me, I've gone through it myself, as I said. And I know that you sometimes feel like you're not enough, or that you're not beautiful enough, or that maybe you're an issue. But let me tell you something, you're never the issue. Always, the issue is the person who's judging you. They've never learned to love everyone just the way they are, and that is their problem. It is never, ever your problem. You keep on being you. Just make sure to be the best version of yourself. And I'm not talking about physicality, I'm talking about everything else. Try to improve yourself. But just because of yourself, not because someone else is telling you to be a certain way. To the people who actually do judge others and actually think that everyone should be a certain size and they should look the same, you need to be able to understand that people are different. And that is completely 100% okay. Know that by saying those words that you do, or by talking to them like they need to change themselves, you're hurting them. And when you hurt people, it doesn't just go away. It sticks with them and it creates issues later on in their lives. You're scarring that person for life. Why don't you just take a look at yourself and try to make a better version of yourself rather than trying to correct everyone else. And so those are my points. I know that this video was quite long. I wanted to tell you that it's okay to be you. These past 2 years, although people have put me in certain categories and wanted me to be a certain way, it just made me realize that I need to be myself more than ever. I need to embrace who I am. And if that includes some people making fun of me, or some people bullying me, or some people not liking me, then so be it. If a person is judging me for who I am, then I don't want that person in my life anyways. And that just shows me who people are, and that just makes me have real friends and people who actually love me for who I am. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below and subscribe to me if you want to see more of these weird videos of mine. I'm still not sure what day I will upload. I'm still gonna upload every week. Please let me know what you think of my videos. Thank you so much again for your support. And the channel has been receiving so many great response, and I'm so happy that you guys like the videos. I will see you guys next week with another video. Bye!